Come have fun with us and don't forget to subscribe.
What's up everybody, I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna.
And welcome to our review of the 1936 movie Anthony Adverse. So for those of you who don't know, this is me and Anna's bucket list channel, a channel in which we try to realize the goals and dreams that are on our bucket list. One of those goals for us is to watch every movie that was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Award from 1927 to 2028.
So many movies.
Lots of movies, Anna. That's 101 years actually of Academy Award nominated movies, Best Picture nominated movies. And today we're going to be talking about the 1936 Anthony Adverse. The way we'll do this review, of course, like we always do, first part we'll just have a discussion about the movie without spoiling. Second part, there will be a spoiler section where we'll go deep dive into some of the elements of the movie that we want to talk about more specifically. And then at the very end, Anna, there is
ranking.
The ranking, because for every one of these Academy Award year, we rank the movie from the year. This is a brand new year that we're starting, Anna.
Right, 1936.
Yes, 1936, which is the 9th Academy Award. As of now, we've watched 68 movies. There is still one lost movie. I've been looking for it, but can't find it. One movie that is at UCLA that one day we'll get there and watch it complete that year. Without further ado, let's get into a conversation about Anthony Adverse and start with some information about that movie. So, Anthony Adverse is a Warner Brothers Pictures movie that came out on August 29, 1936. It is based on the 1933 novel of the same name by Avery Allen. This movie was directed by Mervyn Leroy, who also directed what, Anna?
Oh yeah, I know, the movie that I really liked, 5-Star Final.
5-Star Final and I Am a Fugitive from a Chain Gang. Two great movies.
If I'm not mistaken, both of them ended up in the first position on our lists, didn't they?
On the ranking of their year? I think so. That might be the case, huh?
I'm pretty sure that's how it is.
I'm curious to see if this one will also end up at the top. This movie, Anna, stars Frederick March, who we've seen in a few movies also. He was in The Barrett of Wimpole Street, Les Miserables, and Smiling True. It also stars another really prolific actors that we've seen more and more these past few years. Olivia de Havilland as Angela, and she was in Midnight Summer's Dream and Captain Blood. Edmund Gwen as John Bonifetter, Claude Rains as Marquise Don Luis, and Gail Sondergaard as Fate, which this is actually her first movie.
Her first movie ever?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not expect that.
We're gonna get into some information a bit later about the awards, and when you know that it's her first movie, it's really surprising.
I'm curious.
But first, let's get into production info. So the film, a lot of it happens outside. You even asked me at some point, like, did they film on location? Well, actually, it required 131 sets, including 12 acres of African compound that was built on the studio's backlot. So no, it was not filmed on the location.
Well, wait, they built an African-looking set, looking like the outdoors of some African country?
Yeah.
Seriously? Wow, that's a lot.
And so I'm guessing, because so much of the money had to go towards set design, they also reused some other stuff from some other movie, maybe to cut money or maybe because it was just the way they were doing it back then. Some of the miniatures that Fred Jackman built for Port Royal and Captain Blood were reused in this movie.
Is it the ships?
The port.
Okay.
Yeah. Other interesting information, of course, I mentioned it a bit earlier, the awards. This movie was nominated for a lot of Academy Awards.
Oh, okay. 7
Academy Awards, actually, and won 4 of them.
4?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Of course, it was nominated for Outstanding Production, or Best Picture as it is known now. Best Supporting Actress for Gail Sondergaard. So when I was telling you, it's her first movie, and she won. Best Supporting Actress. And this was also the first year they had the Best Supporting Actor and Actress categories. Best Scoring, Warner Brothers Studio Music Department, which they won. Best Art Direction, Anton Grott. Best Cinematography, Tony Gaudio, which he won. Best Film Editing, Ralph Dawson, which he won. and Best Assistant Director, which I still don't know what it is, William Cannon. The Academy loved the movie, and the public also went and drove to see the movie. So this film was Warner Brothers' most popular movie of the year, but also its most expensive. When you think about those acres of fake African land, you understand why it must have cost so much.
Or maybe there's a relation there between it being expensive and it being popular.
But wasn't as popular with some critics.
Okay.
So I pulled some information from reviews of the time. One thing that was generally really appreciated was March and his acting, which is interesting because the Academy didn't nominate him for Best Actor. In 1936, the New York Times critic Frank S. Nugent said that the film was bulky, rambly, and indecisive. Took too many liberties with the letters of the original because it's based off of a book, of course. And this is basically a lot of the consensus. I only pulled that one, but it reflects a lot of the reviews that I've read. A lot of people saying it was too long, it was all over the place, and it was far from the book's original intent. And when you look at the Rotten Tomato score, it has right now, well, at the time that I checked, a 20% rating on Rotten Tomato.
20%?
20%, making it the lowest score of any Best Picture Oscar-nominated movie.
I have to say I'm really surprised because I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, I had some issues with this movie. Let's get right into it, Anna.
Okay.
Let's pull the plug on this information section and let's get right into the thick of it. What did you think of this movie?
So you were saying, you had issues. I had issues with it too, obviously. I will start by saying that you can definitely tell that this is a book, like probably a very big, voluminous book, turned into a movie where they couldn't put everything in. They had to skip stuff, jump over stuff, maybe change stuff. I don't know, I'm not familiar with the original material, but you can feel it, definitely. The second thing that I want to say is that when you do this kind of jumps around, is that you don't get that character development as much as you normally would. And so you feel it a lot in the main character. You don't really feel how did he get from point A to point B, because you don't have space to put all of that, growth and transition and mindset and everything else that changes, It's hard to grasp it when you only have 5 minutes of a scene to show that change. I feel like it's an issue that a lot of movies adapted from big novels at the time had.
Yeah, and they didn't want to do sequels. Here, today, I feel like studio have no qualms being like, oh, it's fine, we'll do it in 5 sequels. First third of the movie, let's go. I'm rolling. This is interesting. Let's see where this is going. Second third, horrible. Take this out of my movie. I don't want to talk about it. And third part, at that point, I'm kind of like...
You try to redeem yourself, but kind of doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned the character. A lot of it has to do with the character being all over the place, but the story also being all over the place.
Yeah.
This New York Times critic who said this is rambly and jumping, it's true. And it's long. They cut so much, apparently, because I'm also not familiar with the source material, but you feel it. They cut so much out of the book, and it is still so long. At the end of the movie, you're like, oh wow, it's past midnight. We've been watching this for so long,
Yeah, I did. But you know what the thing is, that unlike other long movies that we've watched as part of this goal, I didn't really feel like it's so long. I think maybe because there's so many things happening, and I'm not saying it necessarily as a good thing in this case, because like you said, they were all over the place. The action was all over the place. But it didn't make me feel at the end like, man, when is this over? You have to do a little bit of a mind exercise there to fill in the gaps, between different moments of the movie. But when I do that, I kind of like it. I feel like you shouldn't have to do that when you're watching a movie. The movie should give you the whole story. But I was curious still. I was curious to see where it is going, and by the end of it, I didn't feel like it was too long.
Oh, I felt that it was long. I felt it in my bones. One thing I'll also agree with the critic, Frederick March, I thought was excellent in his role. Olivia de Havilland, also good. She's not there as much as I thought she would be. When I saw the credit, I saw she was in it. Still, enjoyed her performance. And my highlight, John Bonifetter, Edmund Gwynn. I thought he was so great, as the very likable old man. At
Yeah,
some point in the movie, I
definitely.
even told you, this is the only likable movie character in this movie now. And he plays it so well, like the entire time. I really liked him. Not that a character has to be likable for me to like him, but it helped.
Especially in a movie in which most of the characters were kind of like switching a lot, their personalities, their character. I feel like him being likable and also staying consistent really made me like him more.
What about you, Anna? Was there any performance that stood out to you that you'd like to highlight?
I want to say the boy who played Anthony as a child, I thought he was better than most child actors that
There was a few lines where I was like, oh, but most of the time he was pretty good.
Most of the time he was pretty.
Fate, she won the Academy Award for it. She really plays the villainous role well, and the entire time, even before you realize that she's not a good person, her face just says it, like the way she emotes. Like you could feel through the character, like, oh, she's up to no good, this one. What did you think of Don Louis?
I thought his character had good motivation, and I liked that about it. But towards the end of the movie, like all the other characters, I felt he did some things that seemed against his character so far.
It's a jump,
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. One thing I gotta say about this movie, they spent a lot on set. There were a lot of different sets, a lot of different countries that they wanted to portray. Too bad that they were jumping around so quickly between a lot of those that we didn't really get to see some of them like in detail. But most of the time it looked good. The fact that you asked me if they filmed on location means you thought that might be the case.
I definitely thought so. Especially because, as you said, they did want to portray different countries, mind you, really far away from each other.
Yeah.
And I really got the feeling that they might have filmed on location because it looked very like realistic, except for one thing though. Some of the actors who
the natives
playing native characters,
were obviously not.
That's where you feel it.
Yeah, no,
like,
it was
what I thought
studio
about.
when they hired some.
Man, they did a terrible job on that.
No.
Terrible job. We'll talk about it more later because it's one of, like, I feel like one of the biggest issues.
It jumps at you,
Yeah.
In general, this was a pretty movie with some good actors, nonsense characters, and jumbo story. Would you say that sums it up?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Would you recommend this movie?
I don't know. Can I say pass on this one?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It is so long, like with the time you're spending on this movie, you could watch two very good other movies.
The thing is that I kind of feel sorry because I think it would have been a great movie if it had been done better. I feel like the story itself is very interesting.
I'm sure if you read whatever 100 volume novel that this thing came from.
Yeah, that's my recommendation. Read that book.
Okay, Anna, let's move on now to our spoiler section. So if you guys at home don't want to get spoiled, it is time for you to like the video, hit the subscribe button. But before you do any of that, go to the description box below and click on the little timestamp that will lead you to the ranking, because we're going to be ranking this movie against other 1936 Best Picture nominated movie. So go check that out. And for those of you who don't mind getting spoiled or who have seen the movie, let's get right into it, Anna. In 18th century Italy, an orphan's death to the man who raised him threatened to separate him forever from the woman he loves. That's the
Is this the
IMDB synopsis.
Okay.
I see your face. I see your surprised face here. Is this the synopsis?
Is this the synopsis?
This seems to be just one element of a much bigger story that they picked as the synopsis.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. We usually go with the IMDb one because I feel like a lot of time it tells a story. What do they decide to put as the core element of this movie?
Right.
And this is it.
I feel like this is not the core element of this movie. It's definitely a big element, but not the main one.
Mm-hmm. Because, of course, this is the story of a little orphan. So I'm going to go into more detail this time.
Okay, yeah.
Little orphan Anthony Adverse, who's adopted by his grandfather, who doesn't tell him that he's his grandfather, raise him to be a good man who falls in love with the cook's daughter. They get together, but the cook's daughter has to leave. Anthony grows older and then meet up again with her, Angela, who's now a singer, but they get separated because of the element that was talked about in the previous synopsis about the death. One thing that I found that was interesting looking up info about this movie, the movie presents Angela as Mademoiselle Georges,
Yes.
the opera singer. In real life, Marguerite Georges was one of the most famous French actresses of her time and was also known to have had an affair with Napoleon.
Really? That's true? Like that part is true?
Only that part that
Okay.
someone who was called Mademoiselle Georges had an affair with Napoleon. Everything else is not true.
Yeah, obviously.
It wasn't an Angela from Italy, but they made her that character. And I feel like it kind of not redeems the character, but makes it make a bit more sense. Because I remember at the end I was thinking, why is she even pushing Anthony and her son away? They just met again after all this time. Why is she not happy? And then they just leave back to Italy because she was involved.
I mean, I feel like for me, just the fact that now she had a big career was enough of a reason. Like, she chose her career over her
I thought that was
family.
the reason, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought they are hinting at. I didn't actually think they were hinting that she had an affair with Napoleon. I thought that's what the people are saying, but it's not actually true.
I was under the impression that, that's what the people are saying, and that's what Napoleon wants.
Yeah.
He's going after her. But no, they were really...
That changes a lot about the character, about how you look at the character.
The end part, I feel.
Yeah.
But her character is sparsely there. We mentioned she's there at the beginning and she's there at the end.
Yeah.
But then she just kind of disappears in the middle. And let's talk about that middle, because to me that's the whole movie. When I said the first third is good, the second third get it out. That's the African part. That whole thing was nonsensical. And I understand that in a book, it probably makes a lot of sense. It's probably the core of the book.
Yeah.
It's where he gets his spiritual journey. In the movie, you don't get any of that. It's just nonsense the whole time.
So I was saying before how the character just, makes jumps without seeing an evolution, character growth. How does he get from point A to point B? It's there. So he leaves from Italy, goes all the way to the Caribbean somewhere. And all that time, like, he's the same character. He does these things one way. Then he goes to Africa, and then
he becomes a monster.
Right? Like, not even just in the sense that, okay, I have to be practical about this. I have to do this business so I can go back home. Like, no, he's evil.
Yeah.
They mention in the movie that he spends 5 years there. So I'm sure that in 5 years...
Oh, wasn't it 3 years? It's
He
5
was
years
supposed-
away, but it's 3 years.
Anyway, 3 years, 5 years, same difference. I'm sure that in 5 years, you read the book over this period of time, these things happen slowly.
Yeah.
There are small events that happen that make you see why he ended up being like this. In the movie, you don't get any of it, He leaves Central America, same old Anthony. He gets to
Good guy Anthony.
Yes. He gets to Africa, and we're already 3 years later or something like this. And he's just... It's literally a time skip that takes out the whole character growth, which I feel should be actually the synopsis of this movie. The center part of this movie is how, the journey of a man growing up as a good person. Because everybody who raised him, from the priest, his grandfather raised him to be a good man. And getting from there to being the kind of person who does those kind of things, that's the journey that you're supposed to read about. I'm sure, as I said, I'm not familiar with
But you don't get any of that, it just skips from good guy Anthony to evil guy Anthony.
Exactly.
And then it's not only about the character and its motivation and etc. that it doesn't make sense. It's just the whole composition of the sequence doesn't make sense. They bring in this father, this monk. I'm sure in the book, again, he has a very important role in helping Anthony get through his spiritual journey and get back to, a point where money and these kind of things don't matter. Here, he's just kind of thrown in there, and then they keep telling us he's important, but you never really see it. And then when he dies, you're supposed to be like, oh my god, this has changed Anthony forever. Why?
He comes with him from Central America. That's where he's being introduced for the first time. And then we get to Africa, and he's just not there. We just see Anthony doing his evil stuff. And then the father just appears in one shot, taking one of the slaves away, helping him get away. And we're like, oh, that guy was there.
He's still there, yeah. Just in general, there's all these scenes where people get into the room where Anthony is. Everybody stares at each other. They close the door. Skip scene, switch scene. What was that even, And it happens several times. I'm sure, there's such a, spiritual element linked to it. And I'm sure in the book you're in his thoughts. And it's all, very important. Here it means nothing.
Exactly. It's mean nothing and it's badly done, it's badly put together. That whole part.
Yeah.
Another element that I have big issues with from this section of the movie.
The locals.
That particular local lady.
Oh, the local lady.
I don't even know her name. I don't even want to know
the
it.
one who sleeps with Anthony,
Yes.
who's obviously not African.
In the whole California, Hollywood, you couldn't find one African woman. Which
You could have
you couldn't.
easily,
You could have easily, but you couldn't. And then they dressed her up like from a completely different part of the world.
Yeah.
Those are not... I don't know, I'm not an expert, but that looks
She's dressed as like a Pacific Islander.
because we just saw a couple of weeks ago only...
Mutiny on the Bounty.
Exactly.
They're
which is
just like
filmed
that.
In Tahiti. That's what she was dressed like. I'm like, hey, you got the wrong continent here, my
But even
friend.
if you were to say like, oh, she comes from one of those islands, she doesn't look like that.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
But yeah, to me, Anna, this whole section kind of tainted the third part of the movie where he goes back to Europe, which is better, but still a bit nonsense. But I was still thinking like, oh, wait, we're jumping again. Like, he's back to being good guy Anthony, and now he's even more good guy than he ever was before, giving away his money. But like, I don't get the journey, you know?
Right.
I didn't feel the journey.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit actually about the love story of him and Angela. Again, very much like the rest of the movie. It begins very nicely, very well. I liked it. You know, he has to go away. They get married like last minute on that morning before he has to leave. And then he gets back and I'm like, it feels like a rupture there in the relationship, other than the fact that sure, they spent 5 years apart. But again, I don't really feel the emotional...
And it's also because, you know, it's so rushed when they do get back together and she presents to him his son and everything. It doesn't really jump at you the way it's supposed to. Like that feeling that, oh, they've been apart for so long and finally they're back together. Maybe because they don't really spend that much time together. I'm sure if you had more time, you could have fleshed out their younger days, you know, when he was growing up there and they spent a lot of time together. But and the whole movie, they're together maybe 20 minutes, you know, like playing scenes together. So it's hard to really feel that connection between the two of them. One thing that I thought was clever though is that the very end we learned that presumably this movie and book, the title is not about our main character but his kid, you know. He talks a lot about the name, the importance of a name throughout the movie, and that's the name that his kid has, Anthony Adverse.
Yeah, so even if it's his story, it's his journey, it feels like the conclusion of this journey is actually his son. It's not for himself. It's not about himself.
It's for the name to endure into. But well, Anna, this was definitely an interesting movie. Again, I would not recommend it.
No, yeah, me neither.
Yeah, but I can rank it, which is what we're going to be doing right now. So Anna, right now in our ranking from the 9th Academy Award year, we only have one movie, which is Anthony Adverse, and so it is number 1.
Yeah, I think we'll have to agree on that for now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens later. One thing that I want to mention though is that I was a little bit disappointed when you mentioned who the
director
was, because his other 2 movies, like, oh man,
they were so good.
They were so good. I'm wondering if it's just an issue of how directors were taking on books at the time.
Because we've had that issue a couple of times with other book adaptation where it's just so big, and
I think most of them really.
Yeah, they try to fit so much stuff that they just jump around, you know. They have a hard time.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it for our review of Anthony Adverse, a 1936 movie. If you want to see us review other movies from the Best Picture Academy Award nominee list, I invite you to subscribe. Hit the like button if you like this video. Comment in the comment section below. Have you seen Anthony Adverse? And if so, what did you think of it?
Or have you read the book?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Is it much better? I'm pretty sure.
I expect it to be.
Yeah, but don't forget that this channel is not just a movie review channel. Actually, it is not. It's a bucket list channel. So we have different goals and dreams that are on our bucket list, and this is just one of those goals. And we try to realize all of them, whether it's traveling, self-growth, movies, anime, games, etc. We do it all here.
Yes. All of them.
Yeah, so if you're interested, go check some of that out. And don't forget that if you yourself have a goal or a dream that you'd like to realize, take that first step.
Bye bye.